What the Actual Fork podcast is co-hosted by two intuitive eating registered dietitians, yours truly, Sammy Previtt, owner of Fine Food Freedom, and Jenna Warner, owner of Happy Strong Healthy.
We can't stand diet culture bullshit and love keeping it real. Our mission is for all humans to believe that they are made for so much more than chasing a smaller body. We are also here to share with you that food can be fun and pleasurable again.
Although we are medical professionals, we are human beings too. We are not afraid to share our deepest, darkest secrets and how many years of our lives were taken by diet culture.
We started this podcast so no human has to feel alone in their journey towards food freedom. So get comfy and join us for a casual combo where you can expect to laugh, cry, learn, and grow.
We are so grateful that you're here. So if you enjoyed this podcast and want to connect further, we invite you to follow along on Instagram at WhatTheActualForkPod and subscribe, rate, and review our podcast so we can continue to share this message with more and more people. Now, let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of What the Actual Fork podcast. Jenna, great to see you today.
Emotionally, I'm doing so much better today. I'm definitely not like in the best place, but we are so much better than the last time I saw you on a screen.
Can I just tell you that I like literally forget that you're pregnant every time I see you, because that's the
thing. So does my
with...
husband, which causes a lot of our fights.
I just feel like because I see you from like the tits up, I just don't like remember that you're pregnant, and it's crazy. What are your symptoms of the week this week?
No, I feel so much better. I've been constantly boob checking. My nipples are still sore when I press them. So I'm taking that as a good sign, and I'm certainly growing. Definitely so much faster than my first pregnancy, which is like wild and amazing. But there's been so much stress in my life the past couple weeks and even this entire pregnancy thus far, that my husband and I like talk to the baby now and we're like, we're so sorry. It's going to be better. Like, I promise
It'll be better once you're here.
Please don't be scared. But yeah, we were actually like doing like the timeline of January to now. And just all of the shit that's happened. And again, super grateful. Nothing is life altering, but it's certainly been a rougher couple of months, and I'm officially in my second trimester and hoping that we can calm down a little bit.
I'm claiming that energy for you. I am also claiming the energy of a safe labor and delivery when it comes. This total random side note. Our street, we have 16 homes on our street. I'm close with like a lot of the moms, a lot of young moms on the street. We had 2 new babies enter the world the same day, next door neighbors. And so the other day, like I ran outside, I saw them on the walk, and he's 7 pounds. And I was like, oh my God,
You're ready. You're ready for number 2. Okay.
I forget. And then also, I don't know if I'm claiming this energy for you, but the other baby was over 9 pounds and slipped out of mama in 1 hour from the first contraction, caught in a towel in the bathroom. She was planning a home birth. Her first one was a home birth. So she was but her midwife didn't make it over in time. And I'm like, damn, like
that's insane.
She's like this. I mean, they're both warriors. Anybody who births a child is a warrior, but I'm just like, holy shit. So just so many things happening on my street this week, but just all the little babies. And it's also National Infertility Awareness Week right now.
Yes,
so also just sending love to all women and humans trying to conceive right now, because it's a fucking shit show, ain't it?
It really, it's just, and I was actually talking to my cousin who has a 4-month-old maybe now the other day. And we were just talking about just like the emotions that you feel after giving birth to, and, you know, what is so not talked about. And just what makes you feel so alone and lonely in that process. And I hope that we can be a safe space for people to know that you're feeling it. You're not alone. I promise.
Yeah. I feel like we could probably do a very specific postpartum series of like physical versus emotional. Like there's just like so much nuance to it. And I remember being in it and thinking like I was so well informed before going into it that like I wasn't gonna feel a certain way. Joke's on me. Joke is on me. So yeah, I'm so passionate about that. Like the one mom on our street is a first time mama. And like, I just keep texting her. I'm like, whatever you're feeling, totally normal. If you feel alone, like, let me come over. What do you need?
Please
Like,
call
you know,
me.
Luke has already dropped off homemade meatballs and pasta on the street. We're just like, what does everybody need? Like checking in. It's just crazy the awareness that you have after you go through it and just
And you
show
don't
up
know
so
until you
different.
know.
You
don't
yeah.
know
The
until
one
you've
mom feels
experienced
so
it.
bad. She's like, I didn't do this for any of you. We're like, dude, like you didn't know. Like it's
Right.
fine. It's totally fine.
And then meanwhile, I'm looking at a note on my desk because I haven't told you this yet. So on top of like our week from absolute hell last week, on Friday, I got a text from the nanny who like took Noah out in the morning and they were having a great morning. And I was like on another call. It was like 11:15. I'm like, oh, that's great. Like he'll take a nap, whatever. We get a text from her. She's like, hey, there's a tick on Noah's head.
Shut up.
My husband literally texted me. He's like, I'm broken. I got up. Like, what else? I'm looking at this paper that has technology dot.
Shut up.
Like, I need to get rid of this because it's triggering me.
Speaking of bugs, let's talk about bugs. So our house is under construction right now. We're doing an addition, which is really exciting. And just doors have been open, things have been exposed. And I woke up at midnight the other night, like
No.
ripping my arms off. And I have one on my face I've covered and like 6 mosquito bites, like insane. You should see these welts.
What you were about to say.
No, just like insane bites. Like, and Luke got none because I am literally his citronella. So then like I day of ordered like same day delivery, Amazon Prime, like some bug thing. Checked it this morning. After 24 hours, there were 8 mosquitoes in it. So welcome to Florida. Disgusting. As
You have
if
to get
there
the
weren't
patches.
enough.
Mom hack for everyone, the stickers.
I remember
on
you
Sienna
told me about those.
and on
I remember.
yourself because
Okay.
the bug spray stinks. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get on kids that move around, but I'll stick a sticker on the back of like Noah's shirt so he can't pick at it like a pie.
Okay.
And it honestly really works. They're like called mosquito patches. Now you're making me itch. They're called the mosquito
I am
patches.
so itchy right now.
They're like little happy faces and like
I
they
know
have
exactly
the
what you're
repellent
talking
in
about.
them. It's totally worth it. Sleep in them.
Because Luke's been like so mad the past 2 nights. I've been spraying. I have like an essential oil bug spray, so it like doesn't have DEET in it because I have to wear bug spray so often here in Florida. And I'm like walking into bed just like an essential oil candle, and he's like, "Geez, like you smell." I'm like, "At least I smell good. It's like eucalyptus and lavender." But so just gotta love the bug theme on the podcast today. Never knew what you were going to get. Well, in addition to bugs, do you have any what the actual fork moments that you were burning passion wanted to talk about today?
I mean, I feel like I have a lot, but I also feel like the only thing that I'm feeling called to say, because I didn't share this on any other form of social media, but I've hinted at it a little bit. And I feel like the loyal get to hear the true story. But as to what actually happened in our life last week, just to like hold space for any parent who is experiencing any of it. Last Monday, I was supposed to take Noah up for his nap. So I was riddled with mom guilt that I've worked through. But long story short, he was playing around. He was giving me all of his signals that he was ready to go up for bed. And actually, this is not your fault, but I was like,
know what you're gonna
Mommy's watching
say.
Sammy on TV. Look, Sammy, give me 5 more minutes. Like Sammy was on national news and I didn't want to miss it. And he was like on the couch with me and he was kicking, like just giving me the signals, like, and it was his nap time. And I was like, okay, go get your whatever it was and we'll go upstairs. And he like ran into the other room, freak accident, tripped over his foot and landed on like his box that he was like putting on his head before and being silly, that normally has Legos in it. So it was a plastic container that he plays with all the time, and he fell just directly on it. And this baby split his lip open from top to bottom, split the muscle the entire lip, it was like flapping. Matt heard the screams from upstairs and just knew something was wrong. And by the time he got downstairs, I was covered in blood. Noah was shaking. It was the scariest moment of my life. And props to me in that moment when my husband was panicking. Please, I broke down right afterwards, but I held it the fuck together and got us in the car, had ice on this kid's lip, walked into the ER covered in blood, screaming. And long story short, we ended up seeing a plastic surgeon, stitched this baby back together. But last week, like, I was told that my active boy wasn't allowed to run, jump, eat any of the foods that he loves, or use his pacifier.
When you said that, I was like, oh my God.
And like, so we're calling it our silver lining because it was time to break the habit anyway, but like, not when he needs it most. Like,
Yeah,
when
not when he needs the most
comfort.
soothing in his entire life.
He has no other soothing mechanisms, right? Like, he doesn't know anything else. And so Matt and I literally, we just fought all last week because we were exhausted. We were trying to control his behaviors. He was so tantrumy and so angry. He wasn't allowed to do any of the things that he loved. All of this energy, nowhere to do it. How do you control a 2-year-old? I mean, this kid with his lip flapping was doing sprints around the plastic surgeon's office, and everybody in there was like, "Is he okay?" I was like, "No, like, no, he's not."
Clearly, we're not okay. We're all
None
not
of us
okay.
are okay. But so anyways, long story short, I had the babysitter here all last week, but I didn't work at all, as you saw, because he was inconsolable. And it was just so sad. But the good news is that it's healing very nicely. I think it's a super incredible lesson in resiliency, in motherhood, in entrepreneurship, in just humanhood, that in life, that like, I've been sharing this a ton, but like, when you're in those really dark, deep, awful moments, you feel like you're never going to get out of them. And with time and consistent effort and, a clear picture of what your end outcome feeling is to be, like, you will get there. And, he had trouble at nap time today, but yesterday he didn't. And every single day, like, we're getting a little bit better and he's healing. And the tick, I don't think, was attached because I pulled it off. But like, it's in the mail on its way to Colorado, and it wasn't a Lyme disease tick because my ass was Googling every fucking thing.
Oh my God.
But as parents, we're stronger for it. And we talk about all the time. Communication was so piss poor last week. That was why we were at each other's throats. And we had some really big breakthroughs too, when we were able to like have conversations with each other about what we each needed and what he needed. Like, he didn't ask to have his lip stitched up. He didn't ask to have his passy taken away. His angry behavior is because he didn't have any other way to cope with, having his life turned upside down. So in those moments I was mad. I definitely did things like yelled and didn't treat my son the way he deserves to be treated in all moments, and beat myself up over that. And I'm sharing that out loud because I think a lot of moms experience that and beat themselves up over it and feel like they're the only mom in the world to like lose their cool. And you deserve compassion too. So I'm sharing my fuck up publicly to make other people feel less alone. And parenting's fucking hard, but it's really given me such perspective this week of like, where do I want to spend my time? Because
you've been asking yourself that question for, I feel like, years now. And I feel like there was like a sign from the universe that was like, you're not going to like this, but here's a situation. And like, I feel like, so that was obviously like the first really big injury, for Noah, and a toddler boy, or just a toddler human in general. Chances are there may be a broken wrist in the future, right? Or
mine.
Yeah, like, you just think about when we were kids, like, there's gonna be more of that, and how much like better prepared you are now going through this, of like just going through an emergency situation and doing what you can. And like you said, you could apply that to any life lesson, not just being a mom, right? Just going through shit in life.
And like any change journey is like what I've been trying to share on social media is like, you know, when you start something, you have these expectations because the internet says this, and that person did it in 3 days, and whatever it is, that the outcomes will come in a certain amount of time. And the
Mhm.
truth is that your child and your journey and your path to food freedom or healing or whatever it is not has never been studied before because no one has
Yeah.
studied your specific path before, right? And I think that's something that we forget because it worked, quote unquote, for so and so, that it's going to do the same thing for us. And it's just a really unfair thought process that there's just not enough conversation about. But my TikToks reach 400 people now, so I hope those 400 people really appreciated my message.
They did. They absolutely did. And no, I love that you brought that up because I feel like it's easy and we see it now. Even I know we've talked to a few guests that have talked about the intuitive eating message is maybe not even what they're preaching anymore, but just like, I don't know, everybody's human and everybody makes mistakes and everyone puts their own bias and judgment on things, whether they want to or not. And I've been seeing even like a lot of dietitians or just like coaches that have coined themselves as intuitive eating, whatever. And they're making it look like this, like
No.
beautiful, easy, snap your fingers, look at this testimony, testimony. And don't get me wrong, like, of course you should be sharing the joyous things that your clients experience. And like, that is a part of it. But I've just seen definitely a shift of how people are showcasing things that make it a very unrealistic expectation of a journey for someone who hasn't walked it before. So I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's
I
it's
thought
it's
one
a
of my
happening.
one of my trainer friends sent me something the other day. She was like, "Don't look at so and so's story," and I was like, "Why?" So I obviously went to look, and it was
So you
like
obviously
now
went directly there to look.
immediately, and it was like now offering macro coaching and intuitive eating counseling, and I'm like, "Bitch, no!" Like,
Oh my God, I
first of
can't wait to
all,
hear off
no.
air who this is. Yay.
Well, I also got into it with a what would you call her? An influencer that was on Temptation Island.
Hmm.
Never watched the show, but she posted something about how she was at Coachella and she stayed on track by searching for grilled
Oh, I
chicken. Did you see
saw
that?
I saw your
But not only
post.
just finding the grilled chicken, but also asking the macros on it. And then the only reason I commented back is because someone in the comment section said, "At what point does it become orthorexia?" And her response was basically, orthorexia is when binge eating is a part of it and like all these other things that had nothing to
Nope.
do with orthorexia. And I was like, hold
You're
on.
like, I used to be orthorexic. Let
Actually,
me tell you
right.
about it.
Let me, and I never binge ate. So here we go. These are separate things. And she like fought back on me and was like, "I appreciate your perspective, but," and then like listed all of these reasons that
Yeah.
she's not disordered. And I was like, got it. I'm gonna leave this right here.
You're like,
Like,
honey, I see through you because I used to be similar to you.
like
I know. I think I saw you like posted your response, and I was like, I think I like have one of those chuckles that I was like, oh, ho, ho,
she's
Jenna's
out.
at it again. You have way more emotional capacity than I do because I
just
just,
I was just
oh,
fuming in my bed, when listening to Noah cry, not nap. So I was like, let me just fire this out for a second. Um, Anyways, we wanted to talk about the almond mom trend
let's talk
today.
about the almond moms.
When you search almond mom on Google, the first thing that comes up that says TikTok users have been skewering diet culture with the latest trend critiquing so-called quote unquote almond moms. Amid the resurgence in Y2K fashion and an idolizing of thin bodies, creators on the video sharing platform have started using the term to describe parents who push restrictive eating habits onto their kids. I feel like that only does it halfway justice. What would you add to that?
Well, I love that you had that pulled up because I had it pulled up too, and we didn't even
Is it
talk
the
about
same
that.
on
I was
yours?
like, yeah, I was like getting ready to read it. So it's like, how perfect. Let's go to the second one down and see if they
Yeah,
have anything to add.
go to the
Almond
one
mom.
from dailymeal.com.
So I have the almond moms are defined by the way that
Yes.
they eat and the
Mhm.
way that they often encourage their children to view food. Almond moms typically take pride in very restrictive dieting. These parents may focus heavily on air quotes clean eating and steer their own children away from birthday cake and pizza at parties. And I feel like, didn't it get started too? Because it's like the almond mom is the mom that like, instead of, eating whatever, she's like in the corner having like her 12
Almonds.
almonds, right? Like instead of like eating the
Do you remember
pizza
the
or the cake.
ShopRite almond tin that we were gifted back in the day? Like the
I
almond board
don't.
gave us like a bunch of tins, and it was like, this is the
Okay.
perfect serving of almonds.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. But yeah, I mean, I think this is, it's like to us, it's like, yeah, no, no shit. Like every single one of our clients like has had an almond mom pretty much. You know what I mean? Like it's so common when you're working with people that are on an intuitive eating journey is that they have people in their lives, whether it was parents, grandparents, aunts, coaches, mentors, exes, partners, who have critiqued or made comments about how they were eating, which then affected their own relationship with food. So I would like to like almost add like an additional side note to this as people listen. Like if you don't have a mother or are estranged from your
Mm,
mother, you can also have an almond mom in your life, or like this person. It's basically the food police is how I am reading
100%.
this.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the
it's,
next thing that comes up
oh,
on here.
great. Let's just keep going down the list.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so glad you brought that up, and thank you for doing that for so many reasons. But I think it's this culture, and it's people being more awake and aware of what I think you've done a phenomenal job on social media of, is really calling out disordered behaviors that are normalized and glorified in the culture that we live in. And I think that is the crux of the issue. And somebody posted, there's this mega viral video that I actually stitched this morning on both platforms, TikTok and Instagram, about this girl who is in the ER. Did you see that video?
Mhm.
She's sitting in the ER, laying in bed, and she has a video of her mom with AirPods in her ears, an angry face, in her workout outfit, doing laps in the ER room. And the girl writes as the caption, like, my almond mom can't sit, is mad at me, something along the lines of, she's mad at me because she missed her workout and now she's needs to get her steps in while we're waiting to be seen, something along those lines.
Mhm.
And the comment section of my video is like, you don't know, the mom just could be nervous or anxious or this and that. So I'm like, okay, let me fact check myself. And you go back to this girl's page and she has screenshots of her mom, talking down to her. And she has videos about how she grew up in an ingredient home and everything needed to be clean, and how her body was always criticized and her clothes were never the right length, and just like all of these things that, again, no, I cannot judge the mom. I'm sure she's terrified of whatever's wrong with her child in that moment, and that's her coping mechanism,
I was just about to
which
say that. Thank
is
you for going there. I was like,
right,
Jenna's going to
which
take it
is
there. Jenna's
the
going to take it there.
disordered habit, right? And
Yes.
so, like, that's where
This mom is
people are
losing
still.
control. And so she's like, what can I control? I can get my steps in.
Thank you.
100%.
And like
100%.
people can't see that because they're like, you're just being nasty to the mom. And it's like, am I? Or are we just seeing things because we've been there, or we've helped someone who's been there, and through a different lens, you can see how uncomfortable this human being is in her skin in this moment. And she has no other tools in her toolbox. She can't sit still and hold her daughter's hand. She can't watch a TV show. She can't listen to music. She can't go out and yell at a doctor, because that's the fuck what I was doing in the ER. But like,
stitch up this flapping lip now.
where's the plastic surgeon? Like, yeah, you can't. I don't know. We cannot judge her, and I'm not judging her as a mother, but it is really important to become aware of disordered behaviors that are being put on the internet, even in a lighthearted way. Like, calling someone an almond mom doesn't just mean that they only eat almonds. It means now that they are a human being with disordered habits that are raising children or influencing other humans with their disordered habits that they are passing on as, this is safe and okay because I'm your mom, or I'm your
Yes.
influencer, or I am in charge.
Yes.
That's
And
how
I
I
feel
see it.
for sure. And I think like Oh, there's like so many ways we could go with this because
Go.
I was just going to say like the different generations, there's, you know, if we look back at the boomer generation, there's a lot of almond moms. Like, let's just call it what it is because look at how they grew up. Also look at what's the generation that raised the boomers? I'm terrible with this shit.
Oh,
Like,
I
I
don't
forget what
know.
they're called, but you know
Do
what I
they even
mean?
have a
Like,
name? Let's look it
yeah, no,
up.
they all do. I forget. But so it's like if you think about the boomers' parents, I mean, that was back, you know, they were adults back in the 50s and 60s and
The
like
silent generation.
the silent generation, you were the mother in the kitchen, you had your full makeup on, you were keeping the house
Traditionalist.
clean, you know, showing up for your husband and making sure he had his food, like you had to look and be a certain way. And so when we look at the almond moms, like it's like no shit, they're almond moms. Look at how they were parented. And that this just brings up like the whole pathway of generational trauma and how when we look at our relationship with food and body, you have to be a cycle breaker if you have a fucked up relationship with food and body and you don't want to pass that to your child. You got to turn inward and work on your own relationship with food and body. And I think that's where like we talk about our angry stages of like when we first heard about anti-diet and like, oh my God, like fuck dieting. And I think that's kind of what's happening to almond moms is like, oh, like fuck these moms, like they're raising terrible kids. And like, don't get me wrong, like some of it is fucked up, especially if they are aware of the harm that they're causing. But unfortunately, I do feel like a lot of these moms are very unaware and they're doing it because they think it's the right way to parent or keep their kids, air quote, healthy. When as professionals, I think we can take a step back and look from a broader sense and say, like, these almond moms are very disordered and unfortunately need a lot of empathy and calling in kindly. And um, yeah, it's a heavy subject for sure.
And it's mega viral. Like
Yeah.
beyond. I wonder, that was the other thing I wanted to look up is how many, if you go on TikTok, you can see like with a hashtag,
Oh, like
um,
how many
how
videos or
much it's
views or
reached.
whatever for
So
almond
if you
mom.
type in almond mom, let's see. If you go to videos versus, I don't think I could do it on the regular computer. I need it on the app to
Oh,
get
on your
to.
phone. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it's
that's
gotta be
okay.
in the billions at this point.
Like,
And, you know, it's I think it's recognizing if you, let's say, do have an almond mom or a human in your life that is maybe not your mom, but is that kind of person. It's being able to separate yourself from them in a safe distance, whatever that needs to be, and then processing through because a lot of the times the clients that I work with, and I'd be interested to hear what you have to say, like their mom's never going to change because their mom is not aware of the issue. And so it's not your responsibility to teach them, to change them, to do the work for them. So it gets to that place of, am I just going to accept this and do my own work and keep myself safe? Or, or is it so unsafe that I need to distance myself physically or mentally or emotionally from this person until I have, you know, healed my relationship with food and body enough where I feel like I can set some healthy boundaries to be around this person.
I love that. I actually just talked with a client about setting boundaries with the way that people make you feel. Like, even if somebody means well, but they consistently make you feel less than or uncomfortable or judgy or whatever else, like the only way, because we were talking about how you can easily unfollow people on social media, you can't unfollow people in real life.
That'd be great.
Right, but how important that boundary is, and we've talked about this so many times, specifically with Brie Campos, but um setting a boundary is meant to protect you, and setting a boundary is going to hurt the person that you're setting the boundary against, because by nature a boundary is meant to protect you from something, and that means it might impact somebody else, but if it's going to help you, it's so important.
Yeah. And if you're, I feel like most people, I feel like the most people that need to set boundaries are people pleasers, right? Like I know I'm a recovering people pleaser. So it's like, that's like one of the hardest things to do is to set a boundary because usually you're setting a boundary with someone that's not self aware. and usually manipulates you or uses you or makes you feel a certain way. So when you set a boundary, they're like, what the fuck? Because I usually have access to you or I can say whatever I want. But yeah, like you said, that boundary keeps you safe. It doesn't matter how it makes them feel. It's about your own safety. Um, what would be like if you had one or two, like the first thing that comes up for you, like what would be a tip you would give someone, like if they have an almond mom and they're like, I don't know how to approach her or what to do? What would you say?
I think boundary is the number one most important thing. And I guess it really depends on who that person is in your life. And I actually talk with a specific client about this constantly, that it's okay to be able to recognize all that your parents have done amazing for you, and not but the areas that you're now seeing as an adult have impacted your adulthood. So
Yes.
you may have an almond mom who never missed